You can break away from the visceral feeling that if you skip a meal or even several meals, you'll be in danger, that you'll be weak and miserable, unable to go on. You can overcome the feelings of fear, discomfort, starvation, terror and loneliness and replace them with liberation, power and self-control. While this is the most fundamental message in it, Fast This Way by Dave Asprey goes beyond the subject of food, presenting fasting as a Swiss knife for personal development. Starting with a summary of the author's journey to healing loneliness and personality deficits, the book provides a refreshing perspective. Giving some background on shamanism and fasting's existence alongside the first wall paintings, it claims fasting isn't limited to going without food, and instead it means going without. Thus, it can be used for any addictive habit, enabling you to be and achieve so much more. Different kinds of fasting. Based on this, it can be said that nofap and abstaining from liquor and drugs are both forms of fasting, whereas cyclical celibacy, intermittent fasting. You apply the method of going without, breaking various dependencies. Fasting, the book clarifies, isn't about deprivation and suffering, but giving your body what it needs at the right time. As long as done correctly, this is a joyous experience for boosting willpower and self-control. Quote, fasting is about knowing what you need and taking control of it. Unquote. Whether that's food, porn or social media, by breaking the cycle of indulgence and instant gratification, fasting frees space in your mind, granting the ability to reflect and re-evaluate your desires. This allows differentiating psychological cravings from actual physical hunger, which most people pretty much never experience. Quote, when you go without, it creates a space in your mind to examine the things you think you depend on and to discover whether that dependence is truly what you thought it was. That goes for sex, companionship, work and many other things as well. Examining your actual needs versus your perceived needs up close exposes how much power you actually have over your body and behavior. Unquote. Taking things slow. Also to appreciate is Dave Asprey's emphasis on making gradual progress when new to fasting. The author recommends employing various IF protocols to facilitate your adaptation, and an example I believe would be starting with 8:16, moving to 4:20 and finally transitioning to the OMAD plan. Quote, use intermittent fasting to help ease into going without. Unquote. Pretty effortless, intermittent fasting, as my viewers know, provides numerous benefits including regulating insulin, clearing toxins and pathogens and reducing inflammation via autophagy. Calories and food sources. Like all books of Dave Asprey, Fast This Way doesn't skip stressing how different calorie sources trigger different hormonal responses and thus eating them produces non-identical results. Also how the calories in, calories out model does more harm than good, keeping you hungry and feeling like crap. On the other hand, due to elevating ketones and lowering ghrelin, IF protocols promote hunger suppression and a healthy relationship with food. Fast This Way addresses food toxicity and how certain foods contain toxins like lectins and others that damage the cells, causing a host of issues. Another key message is that while all people can benefit from fasting, your diet plays a role in how you're going to feel when actually doing it. Eating junk causes cravings and blood sugar dysregulations, whereas high-quality keto and paleo diets work in conjunction with the fasting, providing the best results. The author elaborates on how the food industry, which he calls big food, uses our nature and primal instincts to profit. Quote, almost everyone has some form of physical or psychological addiction to food. The point is addictions and cravings are built into us even if you never had a problem with your weight. They are easily activated and there's a $1 trillion food industry I call big food that is specifically designed to do just that. Unquote. OMAD, touching on how besides keeping us extra lean by making us burn stored energy, OMAD lowers triglycerides and boosts the good HDL cholesterol. Dave Asprey also regards its benefits as unsustainable, claiming it reduces sex hormones, disrupts sleep and thins hair. Now, this is one of the few parts I massively disagree with. As one doing OMAD for about 8 years, I never experienced those side effects. In fact, the OMAD plan is the most sustainable dietary tactic I have ever implemented, and trust me, I pretty much tried everything. I also don't think you'll get the described issues if you take your time to fully adapt, educate yourself on different food combinations and what they do to your body, and achieve high metabolic flexibility via diet cycling and incorporating occasional 48-hour fasts. On the contrary, I cannot confirm the same would happen if you eat junk and jumpstart the plan with no gradual adaptation, as some people like to do as a demonstration of discipline. It's also worth mentioning that I'm on NoFap and use devices like semen retention and cyclical celibacy for the same period. Another I disagree with is that drinking buttered coffee and plain fasting are the same. They are not, nor they feel the same, which is why I continue to choose the water for less than a decade. The same applies to the recommended by the author protein fasting in favor of fiber and his products, especially if you're a hard training athlete. All the times I experimented with lowering or limiting my protein made me feel like garbage. On the other hand, that never happened with all my plain 48-hour fasts, and after many of them I actually had more energy, feeling rejuvenated. As long as for sleep, I had great struggles for about 23 years. Then I adopted the OMAD plan, repairing my sleep schedule instantaneously. Maintaining around 90% quality, I fall asleep and wake up precisely when I want, and more about that can be found in all my content on the OMAD plan. Speaking of sleep, the author underlines a fundamental truth I wholeheartedly agree with. Quote, "Healthy sleeping promotes your fasting and healthy fasting promotes your sleep." Unquote. He adds that despite society's neglecting its importance, sleep protects and heals us in many ways. That includes reducing cancer and heart attack risks, lowering inflammation, and helping cleanse cellular waste. Meal timing. According to the author, eating before bed interferes with the circadian rhythm, causing multiple awakenings and thus making you feel groggy the next day. If you watch my channel, you know that this is the second place in this book I greatly disagree with. Like Serge Nubret, General Stanley McChrystal, Ronda Rousey and Herschel Walker, I eat my meal right before hitting the sack. That not only sustains my desired sleep schedule, letting me wake up between 3 and 4 am while feeling refreshed, it also keeps my body and brain running like never before. The reason is erasing digestion from my day while also taking advantage of food's downer drug properties when needed, i.e. before going to bed. As mentioned, that is what fixed my sleep schedule after about 2 decades of struggle and reckless teenage stimulant abuse. Like the Bulletproof Diet, Headstrong and Game Changers, Fast This Way also reveals to the readers the harmful effects of junk white and how using dim lights before bed is crucial for falling asleep at the right time. The book also gets into the favorite of mine subject of metabolic flexibility. Unlike fitness YouTubers and celebrities who teach how to reinforce food addiction and sugar dependency by eating every 2 to 3 hours, the author unveils that becoming metabolically flexible allows crushing gym sessions with superior efficiency and performance. As most of my viewers know, fasting trains the body to become a dual burner and effortlessly switch between using sugar and fat. Reminding how that keeps us in shape without annoying calculations, the author explains that switching fuel sources also strengthens the body. This section also gets in the ways contrast showers might facilitate metabolic flexibility and how cold therapy boosts immunity, relieves pain, and helps keep healthy body weight. It also explains the importance of customizing your fasting protocol. Contrary to the internet diet culture, the book advocates striving for long-lasting changes versus embarking on trendy yet potentially harmful challenges just to prove a point. Spirituality. Fast This Way makes a great point of fasting's application in spiritual development and understanding yourself on a deeper level. It reminds the readers that fasting is part of all religions and spiritual traditions, and by using it their disciples not just strengthen self-control but improve their perception of the outer and inner worlds. Here I'd like to add that great yet not typical examples of that are the more traditional methods of obtaining what is called knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, which is the most fundamental stage of traditions like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Thelema, and the whole Western esotericism. Those methods last 6, 12 or 18 months and include rituals, prayer, meditation, such as abstaining from food and orgasms. As the author says, quote, "Fasting allows you to discover yourself beyond flesh and blood." Opening the readers to the spiritual aspects of fasting, Dave Asprey regards it as a meditation on a physical level. And while this might seem somewhat absurd, it actually makes pretty solid sense when considering that some of meditation's key goals include calming and clearing, or better yet, switching the conscious mind off so the deeper consciousness can kick in. Working in a similar manner, fasting drops insulin, triggering a series of processes that put our bodies into a superior state of being. Sex. Another I enjoyed is the author's emphasis on the importance of semen retention for men in contrast to that of more frequent orgasms for women. Like Game Changers, Fast This Way points out how ancient Taoists utilized such practices to sustain vigor and youthfulness. Yet, as long as for the second part of this notion, I believe that women might want to further research it on their own. Also noteworthy are the multiple reminders to not beat yourself up. Just because fasting is about self-discipline, this doesn't mean you should be in pain. Moreover, pleasure should be always part of it. And this, I believe, is something all the discipline-glorifying folks on the internet should consider regarding stuff outside fasting. Final words. In Fast This Way, Dave Asprey recognizes fasting as more than a dietary method, viewing it as a mighty tool for breaking addiction patterns developed by internal and external conditioning. Through this, he provokes a powerful insight which might be recognized as somewhat similar to some of Robert Anton Wilson and even Timothy Leary, who were both biohackers before the movement began. Sure, I disagree with and didn't enjoy the claims about the OMAD plan, meal timing, and the somewhat frequent advertisement of the bulletproof products as mandatory for successful adaptation. Although excellent quality, those and other similar products aren't necessary when adapting to longer fasts, and they also weren't what let me implement the OMAD plan pretty effortlessly. Such statements, however, are understandable. After all, the author owns the company, and I, on the other hand, might be easily defined as what the book calls quote-unquote fasting or OMAD purist. My favorite sections are about spirituality and utilizing fasting to achieve aims beyond dieting. I also appreciated the personal stories of transformation, those with the eccentric shaman Delilah and the narration by Dave Asprey himself. Also the lack of emphasis on smart drugs like modafinil, which when I tried it gave me side effects far worse than my speed abuse in my teenage years. And while you may not necessarily find anything new, if having the other books of this author, Fast This Way is an excellent introduction to fasting's countless benefits. Plus, I find it the most personal compared to the Bulletproof Diet, Headstrong and Game Changers. In my humble opinion, the most key message of the book is this. By taking advantage of fasting, we can make significant arrangements to our wiring, becoming more conscious beings. And that is backed by both science and various forms of spirituality. So, like this video if you enjoyed and consider subscribing if you're into this type of content. Also consider checking my other channel if into alternative forms of spirituality. Thank you for your time.